Welcome to another edition of Detroit Table Talk. It's Saturday, it's 5 o'clock. Let's jump straight into it. I'm here with my lovely host, Carmen. How was your week,
everyone.
Carmen?
I had an awesome week.
What you do?
Well, for the most part, I didn't do a dang thing.
Good.
That was so awesome about it because I got to rest when I got off work. No, I'm lying. A good several times out the week, GB made me, hang out at the hub.
Shouts out to GB.
And I didn't get home till late. I'm usually in the bed by 8:30.
Can I tell you about my week?
Yes.
I had an awesome week.
I know you did.
It was awesome. I had some lovely people. Throw me a surprise birthday party. I've never had nothing done like that for me in my life. And I
love
appreciate
you, man.
it. I love y'all too. So I greatly appreciate y'all for inviting me to the party. Thank you.
You wasn't invited to the party. You was the party.
I appreciate it.
The party was for you.
It was wonderful too. If you missed it, then oh well.
Yeah.
But I appreciate everybody who
We
was
saw
there.
a smile on your face, and we were like, okay, he having a good time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. But we gonna keep the show going. How was the dog?
So listen, I think the dog's been over there for like 3 days now.
Oh, it's out of there? It's out of your house?
I think so.
Oh,
I don't know.
smooth then.
Because I don't really want to talk about it. Because I'm scared that.
All right, we're gonna leave it alone then, because we bring it up. The dog might be there when you leave here.
Somebody knocked on my door yesterday, and I'm like, "Who is this?" Because I don't play nobody just dropping by my house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Who the heck is this?" It was my neighbor. She said, "You still want to sell the dog?"
Oh.
I said, "Well, let me check with my grandson." I said, "And I'll get back with you." So
did
I
you
asked
check with
him.
him. Oh,
Yeah.
You asked him already?
He said, "We keeping them." I
Oh.
was like, "Dang." I said, "I'll get back with you."
Next week
Next week.
we'll figure it out. But we got the book.
Yes, we're giving out a book today, The Trouble with Gabrielle.
Is it today?
Today we're giving it out.
You got the flyer, GP?
We have a awesome
Alone,
sponsor.
pregnant, and about to be murdered. Wow.
Listen,
Wow.
The Trouble with Gabrielle. She's alone. She's pregnant and she's about to be murdered. You can grab this book, and anywhere they sell, paperbacks. You can get the ebook off of Amazon.
And you don't have to read it.
And yeah, but it's a suspense.
It'll get read to you.
Listen, I started this book, and it's really good. It's really good. And I think I say this every week, but I'm looking forward to her putting it into a movie.
So how we gonna give them away? We got some people call in.
Yeah, let's call in the first caller throughout the show.
Okay.
Whoever calls in, get the book. You call 313-266-2811.
Okay.
Again, that's 313-266-2811.
Call in. The Trouble with Gabrielle.
The Trouble with Gabrielle.
So, we have an awesome show. You want to tell them what the title is?
We have a show called Absentee Fathers.
Deep show.
Daddy Issues.
Deep show. We have some wonderful guests here.
We do.
You wanna let them introduce themselves?
Yes, let's start at the head of the table.
No, you're not gonna start here. We not gonna start here. So, my name is Calvin T. Mann, president and founder of Encourage Me. I'm Young and Good Fathers Only, and I'm present.
Amen. We
Glad to have
appreciate
you
you
here.
being at the party.
Well, good to be here. Good to be here.
And I am DeAndre Ford, and I'd like to thank you two for inviting me on here.
Yes.
It's our pleasure.
Yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to, again, sharing and then listening to what's, these issues that we have out there, and hopefully it can be a blessing to some people, some parents, and even some young people.
Absolutely.
And then we have my awesome co-host Dro.
Oh yeah. I can't forget about myself. I'm just here to, just listen and
and contribute.
and contribute as well.
We have some men at the table, and a lot of times women. I'm gonna speak to you real quick. We don't listen too well, and And I think sometimes, and I'm not putting all the blame on you, but a lot of times it's the reasoning why we have some, concerns with our young men.
Absolutely.
A lot of times we think we can be, daddy and mama. And when we have a young man that steps in, the father or uncle or grandpa or whoever step in to try to give us some wisdom, we push back. So for today, we're going to talk about some stuff. And for the most part, I'm going to let the men talk. And I'm going to jump in, but, I want to learn from them as well. Because right now we have some young people that, from my perspective, I think it has a lot to do with absentee fathers in a home. I want you guys to listen to this, and then we're going to get into the conversation.
Fatherless homes. Do you think a father missing in the home is a problem? Or do you think it's not? There's a balance. But if the father's missing, I'm going to give you some stats. Not coming from me. I'm going to give them to you. I want to read them to you. 63% of youth suicide are from fatherless homes. 63%. 80% of rapists with anger problems comes from fatherless homes. Children with fathers who are involved, they check this out. 70% are less likely to drop out of school. 70% of fathers that's involved are less likely to drop out of school. Now look at this one. 75% of all adolescent patients in chemical abuse centers are from fatherless homes. 75%. Hold on till you have it. I got some more. I know you're sweating right now because you don't want to hear these, but I'm gonna give them to you. Daughters of single parents without a father involved are 53% more likely to marry as teenagers. 711%, that's right. Look at it, 711% are more likely to have children as teenagers, and 164% more likely to have a premarital relationship, and 92% more likely to get divorced even if they do get married. 90% of homeless and runaway children are from fatherless homes. Is that enough to make you up? I'm not through yet. 71% of pregnant teenagers lack a father. Did you hear that? 71% of pregnancies are from fatherless homes. Do you think not having a father in the home affects our next generation?
Listen, that was deep.
Very.
When I watched it, those numbers was, I literally sat there and shook my head. And I'm like, dang, what are we doing to our children? Okay, Mr. Kelvin did a little sigh. But no, what are we doing to our children? And, women, we do the best that we can. But fellas, after listening to that, what do you think about those numbers?
So I'll jump right in. I've been preaching those numbers since probably 2005.
Wow.
We started, right? Good Fathers Only 2008, right? There's more. So when we're talking about fathers and dads, right? We have a tendency to hear those things, and just like suicide, it's dismissible. Yeah. Right? We have one of my friends, Keith Bennett, said, "You no longer can shock the community into action." Trabian Shorter said, "You can't bring up a community with negative information." Right? For us, it's been the involvement. How do we change the very statistics that's at play, right? Mm-hmm. And there's one everyone quotes, the one where it says, "It's better to make," Frederick Douglass said back in 19 whatever, right? Well, that statistic where it's better to raise children than it is to repair hurt men. We do both, right? And you can do both. And the very fact that he didn't have or seen this information going forward, when a father's involved with his child, you help too. But one of the things that you got to understand is trauma has a way of seeking revenge, and we played the victim so well.
Yeah.
Right? And so those things impact the household. So, of course, you might have the child, Carmen, but the child has the trauma.
Yes.
And because the child is getting the trauma from the lack of us communicating and growing and working together to raise our said seed, then what happens? We create a culture where we don't care about males. And that is what you're looking at more than anything that we are talking about right now. We've created a culture where we don't care about males. And that is where you're going to have your biggest issues.
Yeah.
Right? That you're seeing now that's been going on. Everybody is like, these killings and stuff is brand new. We've been smacking on each other since the 70s.
Yeah.
Right? We sold dope and then gave the money back to the feds for being ignorant. Right? We took, there are so many things that goes into what is destructive to the male and the child, including television, the images, the lack of images where you don't see me. But we all sit in front of television where they feed constant negative images about black males. Even the superhero, right? Even in the superhero movies, in the shows, and the cop shows, you very seldom see black males unless they're incarcerated.
That's right.
We participated a long time ago. It was a judge show where the guy was judge, and the little black boy came into the judge, and the judge said, "I'm going to help you." This was in the 80s. It was all on TV. We perpetuate the crime against black kids, black boys, black men at all times, even from the news. If I'm watching this news and I'm watching these things, this is what it's saying I must become. Right? So I don't have the opportunity to dream to be a lawyer and those things. Why? Because of the fatherless home. Even if the father's involved, a study recently came out, even if the father's involved, it's 50-50. The shared parenting piece is still the best way to raise a child, but what is the problem? Me and you not sharing this parenting. I'm more interested in getting that check out of draw. I'm not interested in my son being anything. Right? When you find out that my son wants to be something, you always find that there's an incorporation of the dad. So then when you project out here something good about fathers and black males, right, outside of sports and anything else, he's usually being torn down because the black male, if he has any wisdom, Kevin Samuels or anybody, if he has any wisdom, right, we frown upon him having wisdom because somehow that makes us feel a certain way. So we have a society, a culture, a system, a neighborhood where black boys, men, husbands, and fathers are not valued or cared for.
I agree. I definitely agree.
DeAndre, what you think about what this man said about all the statistics?
I took some quick notes here. And it was, matter of fact, you sent me something, and I kind of looked at that, and I think it's the same one.
Yep.
But Pastor Ken Hutcherson, like I said, some staggering statistics. 63% of youth suicides are usually coming from fatherless homes. 80% of the rapists are with anger problems are coming from fatherless homes. 70% are less likely to drop out of school if your fathers are involved. And I truly believe that. Because, again, with that, I mean, matter of fact, my pastor mentioned that the other day about my mom, and she could attest that, she was at parent-teacher conferences. She was involved. My dad, he was involved. So I took that same thing. My wife and I were involved in our children's education and parent-teacher conferences. So, again, staggering statistics. Daughters of without fathers are 53% more likely to marry as teenagers. 75% of substance abuse centers come from fatherless homes.
Yes.
75%,
Yes.
3/4.
That's a lot of.
And when I saw this statistic, 711% are more likely to have children as teenagers. Again, we can see that with our own eye. We see a lot of that. And in the last two, 164% more likely to have premarital relationships. 92% divorced if they get married. 92%. That's still, I can't even believe it. But even if it's 10% less than that, that's too much. And then lastly, 70% of pregnancies are from fatherless homes. Oh, one more. 90% of homeless come from fatherless families. So again, this is an important piece. And with Calvin, with his organization, Good Fathers Only, it takes that village. It takes these organizations to come together. And we can't look at it as being hopeless. We got to keep on going, keep on pushing. Again, I still attest to that. If we can reach one,
Yeah.
but then that one reach one, then you start to multiply that. So it's so important.
You know what was sad to me? I taught in the Detroit public schools. I taught fourth grade science and what did I teach? I forgot that quick. What did I teach? Oh, social studies. I'm sorry. I taught
Social studies.
Fourth grade science and social studies. And unfortunately, I had a group of students that was blessed, meaning that they were the blessed kids out of the school. I try not to say too much the kids are bad. I just call them they blessed. And after so long, I decided to form a mentoring program. And it was like pulling teeth, even in the school, to get the males to come on their, their lunch hour, their prep period, to just talk to the young men. I wanted to focus on the young ladies as I tried to pull the men in to, to assist me. And it was pulling teeth. I don't know how many women stepping up, I'll help. But the men was like, no, I'm going to take my prep period, or I'm going to take my lunch. And I'm like, you don't want to give back? It was like pulling teeth. And then you got the young men, because they see me meeting with the young ladies. You got the young men saying, I want you to meet with us too. So now I'm like having to incorporate it all together because I can't do everything.
Right.
But it saddened my heart that you're in a position that you can change a life, and you don't choose to. And I understand, some people come to work just for the check or whatever. I get it. But I was just taken back, and I was saddened. I think one time I just started like crying. I was like, dang, these kids. I had 35 to 40 students. At the end, I had 40 students. And 96% of their parents, their fathers, was in prison. I think like 30 or 40% of the mothers were in prison. They were living with grandparents. They were living with aunties and uncles. So I had a group that really needed some extra attention. And to know that they need attention, because it was only 3 of us fourth grade teachers. So our kids just circulated between the 3 teachers. But you wanted to sit and talk about the kids. You wanted to say how bad they was. You wanted to, you know what I'm saying, label them, but you didn't want to do anything to help. And that was very sad to me.
If I can share with you why.
Sure.
Right? A number, you got to remember, those same males
Yeah.
were probably raised in a single household.
Yeah.
And so in that single household environment, there's a lot of hate from men. There's a lot of hate from males. Father didn't come home. Or I don't even know who the father really is. When you look at the statistics, around 43%, the 63%, here, that 63% of all suicides come from fatherless homes. We put that billboard up in 2021, right on 8 Mile. Over 44,000 people saw that billboard, right? what was the action? We're raising the awareness around what is happening. So boys don't have fathers, but it gets it's so much more intricate. It gets deeper. We don't realize that Dro and Dre being involved in their kid's life actually extends the child's life.
Yes. Yes.
People don't understand the process of language and how a father shapes his child's language, because dads don't baby talk.
Yeah.
Right? We don't understand the cognitive advantages children are developed when dad plays with the child. See, we don't know these things, right? We're not teaching, we're not celebrating these things for us to have more interaction. We're celebrating the single father as being more involved. He is. The black father is the most involved father, right? Black fathers pay their child support majority on time, right? But just like the call I got today, phone ring, hey Cal, I got this good man. He trying to see his child. Is it a girl or is it a boy that he's trying to see? It's a boy, right? So he's not being able to see the boy. Why? Because they split up. Immediately, I take whole possession of him, right? And now he's not seeing his son. How can I see my son? The damage from this society in that process. So why? In schools, most of the time, if there's one black male teacher in the school, they only send the kids to him to discipline.
Yep.
Right? They're tired. Here's another one. 2%. It's only 2%, 25% black males across the country is in education. Why we don't have an uptick in education? Why we don't have black males in police forces? Why we don't? Right? Because the pay. Right? They don't want to sacrifice. Why? Because they're told not to in their upbringing.
You know what I thought was a little weird to me? And I didn't think that it was something that was across the board. I just thought it was at the place that I was teaching at. It just appeared. Let me say that. Allegedly, it seemed like they pushed out a lot of the African American males out of these schools, where these students are just being taught by, all they see is females. And, we're trying to discipline them. So they're looking at us like, I can't stand women, and they get older and they're angry because every time they look back on a woman, it was always, yelling and hollering and, disciplining them. And from what I know, from the males that was in our school, it was more of, oh, you discipline too strong. Your voice is too deep. We're here to educate. We're not here to, do all that or whatever. I know so many strong African American men who they were constantly on them, about, you're too hard on them, this and that. They just took their teaching, certificate somewhere else. Yeah. And they're celebrated other places. And we lose those bodies. We lose those voices. We lose that man that could have steered, 1, 2, 3, right, boys and young ladies, because the males are not just there for the boys; they're there for the young ladies.
Well, when you're taking that again, you're taking that consideration that the male is also meat, lunch meat, because there might be some single women in that school too, and so the male is constantly under attack from every angle possible, right? When you talk about education and pushing the guys out of the environment, again, we have to take into consideration it's not the system. Sometimes it's the teacher, the principal. Sometimes it's those that impact how and then like you said, when you come behind, but just think about this. You want me to discipline a kid where there's no discipline at the home.
Right.
Right? Which takes us right back to where dad is not present. So you're going to bring this kid to me. Another call yesterday, right? I'm going to bring my child to your program, right? Why is my child 8 years old and so angry? And so once I get into the questions, there's a lifestyle thing that the child has to make adjustment from because the parents split up. Now he has to deal with a lifestyle thing with a mom, and a woman is now involved. That's another thing, more trauma, right? Then you talking about I don't get to see my dad, more trauma, right? And then we teach, again, we're teaching that me and Dre supposed to be adversaries, not friends. Right? Within the culture we teach we celebrate the gang, and this is my dog, and you are soft, or we use the terms throwaway men. We call them goons. Right? What would make a child want to grow up and be anything in that environment when he doesn't have a good example? See, the example is the thing. What can I follow? How can I really follow up and really do, right? Because there are some good fathers, but they ass still out. You still walking around with tight jeans on with your ass out. You a good father, but you still blowing weed in the car, messing up the cognitive behavior of the child. Yeah, you're a good father and a good mother, but you pull up to the store before school starts and you get them hot fries and pop, messing with their cognitive behavior so they can't learn. Oh, yeah, you're a good parent. Yeah, but the kid is up all night. He doesn't have a routine. Right? So what they found was, in more studies, when the father set a time for the child would go to bed precisely at the time that the father was involved would do. And guess what dad used to discipline that routine? Play. And so when you get into how important dads really are, it is life-changing, and everything starts with fatherhood. Before you could be Carmen, I had to incubate my seed in a woman. We think that somehow, miraculously, that this seed, you just gonna pull a seed out the sky and give birth to this child, and this is just your child. Those are the things that is shaping the culture into the problems and the issues that we see. So, of course, I'm going to go over here where some other males at, because in my environment is nothing but female. So why would I go to school? All I'm doing is running into the same thing. You see what I'm saying? So that is where dad, and trying to get dads to get up, we have to value them another way. And we do a great job on the internet and social media talking about how horrible men is, but don't even know their damn value. You think a man is just a paycheck and a penis, and he is life-changing, growing. God
if you can only understand. And unfortunately for me, I didn't grow up in the beginning in a house with a father. I was a ward of the court, so I grew up in the system. And when I did get to a certain age, when I had my first son, he's 30 now, my mother, before then, my mother was on drugs. So by this time, my mother had gotten off drugs, and she had gotten remarried. So when I had my first son, they told me to come home because I was out living with aunts and stuff like that, because I ran away from the group home that I was in. And my life changed significantly just seeing my stepdad in the house and the way that he took care of my mom, the way that he led in the household. So I watched that for 30-something years, until my mom passed a couple of years ago. But I learned the importance of a father. And see, my children and my sister's children and our children, they don't know anything other than that's granddad. You know what I'm saying? He treated those kids like they were his. Anytime something happened, I'm calling my granddad, I'm calling my papa, and they got to experience, because for my children, their father wasn't in the house after, I think we broke up when my oldest was like 5 or 6 or whatever. And although he was in and out, there was no consistency. So when there was times that I needed assistance, with the boys, he left it to me to be the disciplinary, and he wanted to be the friend. So even now, when they're 28 and 30, I'm still the disciplinary, and he's still the fun, the fun dad. So, it's hard. It's hard because now they look at me like she always on my back. You know what I'm saying? She always fussing. While he gets to sit on the porch, laugh, and enjoy, that time or whatever. I think, and I never kept him away from his children. Most of the time, I'm like, come get these. Come get them so that I can, what I'm saying? But I didn't want to be when we broke up as a single mom, I didn't want to be the parent, because we had 2 boys. I didn't want to be the person that was always at football practice, basketball, baseball, golf, soccer, track. I was always the one at all the practice, all the games. And of course, when my sons got to a certain age, one was on junior varsity and one was on varsity. So I'm having to spend half of the game with one and then running to do the second half with the other. That plays a lot in, our young men's mind. So now when they get a certain age, although they like to have fun with daddy, the respect level is not there.
See, in my household, it's a little bit different. I'm the one that's disciplined. My old lady, she the one that's easy going and
I would love to have that position.
get them everything they want. But at the same
That's
time,
what a mother's supposed to do.
But at the same time, in my household, when I was a child, I came from a different household. My father was in the house. He was in the household for majority of the time, but that love wasn't there. It was tough love. You know what I'm saying? I got my ass whooped.
Right.
He whooped my ass.
Yeah, he had to prepare you.
Yeah.
And now I understand that.
Yeah.
Back then, being a child, that's something that you don't understand. You know what I'm saying? So I understand what he put in me, what he instilled in me. But it was other ways that he could have went about doing it, as I do in my household. He didn't understand. I don't think that right, exactly. I don't think that he understood the power of his voice and his presence.
Yeah.
That's dope.
As I do. I understand my power of me being just in my son's life and me raising my voice at him to get him in line.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like you said, it's evolution. Yeah.
Well, how do we encourage fathers back in the home, even if they can't be in the home permanently? How do we encourage them back into our homes as single moms to give them that leverage of, hey, dad is still actively present in your life, you know what I'm saying, through everything that you're going through.
And
without the emotion, that we carry, because he's not with us anymore.
I'm going to speak. I really don't. I can't speak on that right now. I'm going to let you guys speak on that. But what I can speak on, I think, far as men leaving a household, I think that has it has something to do with women, because if you're dealing with a man who's always been financially stable, and then all of a sudden he lose that financial stability, are you going to be that woman that's going to be like, okay, well, I can hold you down until you get back on your feet? A lot of women are like that, and that pushes a man away. A man don't know what to do with, because we providers, protectors. Yeah. And when we lose that, sometimes we don't know how to bounce back.
Yeah.
Without a woman having our back, telling us, baby, that ain't nothing but, send a little bump in the road. We go get past that. Some women don't do that.
They don't have the wisdom to.
Yeah, that's because we sat around grandma and auntie and them, and they were bashing men. It wasn't until I got to a certain age where, and it wasn't until maybe 3 years ago, as early as 3 years ago, that I started appreciating the black man. Because for the most part, you sit around your girlfriends, you sit around and listen to grandma and auntie and them, and it was never nothing good about the man. It was always, oh, he's gonna leave, he's a cheater, he's no good, he's a dog, So that stuff plays in your psyche. So when you get a man and things are not going the right way, the first thing you want to say is get out. You know what I'm saying? And then when he gets out and he said, okay, I'm done with you, now with the child left behind, it's like, oh, and you're not going to be in his life either, which is the craziest thing ever.
I'm going to touch on that real quick. because that bothered me throughout my life. When my mama told me when I was younger to get out.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. She didn't tell me to get out. She told me I can leave. I was like 13. So
Leave and go where?
on my own. So a situation. Now, mind you, I watched my mama put out my daddy, and put out. She didn't really have too many men, so I seen her put out maybe like 2 other men, including my sister's father.
But you saw a pattern.
You know, yeah, you know, and I'm like, yo, you know, you're not finna treat me like you treat these guys. You know, so from that point on, I always had to get my own. And from the day that she put me out, I got my own shit. It took me a couple years, but I ended up getting my own place. And I ain't been back to my mama's house to live with her since. And I thank her for that, just like I thank my old dude for the shit that he put me through. So I think at some point in our life, we got to take accountability and responsibility that our life is our life. We can't. I'm not saying that you blame your aunties or grandmothers for, you know, whatever issues that any type of man brought into your life, but
I didn't have many, but amen.
that's great. But you know, I know guys that, you know, deal with that shit. Be like, you know, they don't have nowhere to go when they get put out.
You if you haven't been taught to bounce back, right?
I don't know how to do it.
You don't know how to do it. If you haven't done with the bare minimum, if you haven't no example, if you wasn't paying attention, right? To really answer your question, the way you get men back and involved the whole night is you celebrate them,
Yes.
you value them. You cut the drawing of the negativity about all the things, like you say, grandma and them and all them said. We like to sugarcoat statistics from back then. This mama's baby, daddy's maybe is a major contribution to the broken home, and we like to just put that on men. You see what I'm saying? The mailman rang that door a few times, and you was accepted. It was acceptable culture, right? And so back then, because you was a close-knit community, you could do those things. But once you stepped out into the environment of racism, nepotism, plagiarism, when you stepped out into this environment after the 68 civil rights, and the rules was different. You didn't pick up the manual to read what you was up against. You just bust out, I'm free, right? And you thought, again, this was another play on your freedom. Nothing in this world is free. I don't care how you look at it. I don't care what country you're in. I don't care where you go. Everything has rules. God has rules.
That's right.
So for us to have this mindset that suddenly, just because the 68, we going to blow out and we free, I want to celebrate the men who went to the streets to make sure that their parents, their wives, and their children did have a roof when they couldn't be in the home because racism was denying jobs. I want to celebrate the men that kept their businesses going and stayed in their businesses and stayed in their families and was an example. The problem is that our judgment is what creates a lot of our problems. Like you said, they were sitting there talking about the men without even knowing how valuable he was, because suddenly he was every cliche he could be other than a husband and a father. And when you found that in the environment, I come from a huge family. Out of one house came 216 bodies, right? My grandparents, the whole nine, right? In my family is 8, 9, 10 marriages of 40 plus years or more, right? Divorce is not something we do, right? Although I got more than my share in our family, divorce is not something that my family does, right?
I don't think we have any
right,
divorces
and
in
it
our family.
and it impacted, and it impacts the children. It impacts your legacy.
It does.
Right? And so when we talk about all these things, what men bring, one of the values that Dro just says, a father prepares you for this world. Right? There was a 20-year study done at the University of Michigan where they evaluated parents at pools all over the United States. It was just watching parents and how they interacted with their children. The mother turns the child toward her. The father turns the child toward the world
Yes.
and begins to prepare. Now, go 70 years. Go from 70, let's take it from 19, let's go from the no-fault divorce. Let's take it from January 1st, 1970, when it was the No-Fault Divorce Act was enacted by the criminal Ronald Reagan, right? Let's take it from there. 85,000 women applied for divorce,
Wow.
right? Within 2 years, there were over 200,000 divorces filed, right? No one gave a damn about what was going to happen to the children. It was all about me. And a marriage is never about me, it's about we.
That's
and
right.
what is our plan? And how we going to execute for these children? Right? Because we hear now, child comes out. Whoa, I got a baby. We got a baby now. I got to have a plan. We never had a plan going in, so therefore it's going to be hard for us to have a plan to stay.
Right.
And so the best way to get men, right, and we do a lot of this work, right? So the best way to prepare, Drew said it, accountability, right? One of the things we teach kids, you got to teach that. Accountability has to be taught. It has to be taught down here as a young person, all the way up. Boys, men, husbands, fathers. If you don't teach it, you got to have order. Men, we don't have order. We get the foolish shit from the barbershop that tell us to go out and sow our wild oats.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. That's poverty. You're teaching me to be poor. You're teaching me to be disruptive. You're teaching me to cause harm to my children. You're putting my children in a foster care system. You're telling me my seed is not valuable. That's the issue. With this foolishness comes the lack of value for your seed. So you're squirting it and spreading it everywhere, right? And that's tough, but you don't know. I didn't know. You see what I'm saying? But once I realized it was time for me to look and learn, I dug and I dug and I dug and I kept going. And I don't go 2 days without fatherhood information. Why? Because what I bring to your pregnancy, Carmen, it's not just my seed. See, yeah, I give you the seed. But what I bring to the pregnancy is you not having the fear of me being and going away. See, these are syndromes that we deal with.
Yeah.
If I get you pregnant, automatically I'm 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Same thing for you. You pregnant now, the first thing you thinking about you start
Same.
thinking about the things that you were supposed to think about before you conceived
Yes.
or moved this person into your body and your spirit, right? These are the things you were supposed to conceive. Like, is this person valuable enough? Is this who I want to raise a child with? These are the things that should be thought. But because they're not, what happens is now we come together, then the child is born.
Yep.
One of us have all the resources and one of us don't. And therefore we fall into the system. And so where's our child? So all your statistics play out in the impact, right? Excuse me, that's my man. All right. With the impact, right? You have the impact into the prison system, the juvenile system, the foster care system, because you don't have a plan for your seed, and so the child doesn't come out and gets proper parenting. And therefore, while we are yelling and screaming racism, and we're talking about this shit is on we.
That's right. That's right.
It's complex. It's real complex.
It's real deep, and
Yeah.
I had to have that conversation with my sons as they were growing up, and of course, once again, I'm the one taking them to the barbershop, and I love it because we have great conversations in the barbershop. When my children were 4 or 5 years old, when they first got their haircut, I've been going to the barbershop with them, and now that I have grandchildren, I'm at the barbershop, and it's the same barber. My children's barber is my grandchildren's
Right.
barber. Well, at least one of them, because the other one don't get his hair cut. and some of the information that they get at the barbershop. And, before I was like, oh, that's my baby, and the men used to tell me all the time in the barbershop, let us talk to him. Mom, you just listen and let us talk to him. And they would say, so I'd be like, don't tell my son that stuff like that. Don't be putting that in their spirit, So I was always still teaching my sons, or trying to teach my sons, like, hey, it's not okay to have 2, 3, 4 different women. It's just not, because it plants a seed to me. It plants a seed in your spirit that when you decide to get married, you have learned to walk out of every relationship that you've been in. So the first time something takes place, you out the door. You're not even considering fighting because it's easier to walk away. You know what I'm saying? And now you have a child. You know what I'm saying? You can't just walk away because you got a seed there that you have to pour into. Now, if you don't want to stay with that person because it's just not going to work, we're not doing children that you're walking away from. And I made that very clear to my sons. If you get a woman pregnant, you there from day one. That means going to doctor's appointments. That means, you may not be the husband, but if she call and say, I need some potato chips, you getting your butt up and getting some potato chips because that's your child. You know what I'm saying? When she goes in labor, you're going to be right there. I don't want to hear, I got something to do. You in that labor room. And I thank God that although they didn't get to see the full picture, after a certain age, I think that I instilled enough in them and kept them around healthy relationships in a sense where, from the church, that I haven't had to have that issue with my sons about not being a father to their sons. So they're very active, but I wish they would have, been in the household with, their sons or whatever. I think that from a woman's perspective, I wish women would consider, not being in an emotional state because it didn't work out. But I wish that we would consider thinking about everything that our seed, our son or our daughter can obtain from their father. You know what I'm saying? And not play that game of I'm withholding that child from you because I didn't get what I needed from you. That manipulation tactic, and children know it. And, we be like, we always saying, well, why is this child acting out and stuff like that? We don't consider that our actions is the cause of why that child is acting out. Right. And a lot of times they can't verbalize it because you're always angry. You're always yelling and hollering and screaming. So why would I, as a child, feel comfortable coming and say, Mom, I miss my dad? Because the first thing you're going to do is cuss me out because that's like a no-no. Don't say his name in his house. They don't need him. You know what I'm saying? He don't want you. He walked out. That is so detrimental to our children. The many times that as a teacher, I've had to sit behind and listen to kids cry about even dads that have left the household but went and started another family and don't even consider the child that they left behind. Right. It's heart-wrenching to see a kid break down. My daddy he didn't show up at my game, parent-teacher conference. Daddy didn't show.
That can bother you.
That can mess with your mind.
Because I most definitely didn't. I didn't perform in any type of activities in junior high school or high school due to the simple fact that I wouldn't go get no support, and I let that shit hinder me for a long time. Maybe until about, I don't know, probably about 10 years ago, I let it hinder me because I knew anything that I did, I really wasn't going to have no support from nobody.
Wow.
Not family, not people. I ain't never really had no friends, but, individuals in the streets that I knew that depended on me. You know what I'm saying? So it was just a lot of things that I just put to the back burner. It was like, I'm not going to do that because, for one, I didn't have no support coming from home. And then you go looking for that support in the streets, you ain't getting that support in the streets.
Well,
Be a
you,
damn fool looking for it in the
well, you know, a
streets.
lot of these young people, and I have to say, you know, going back to the school, you know, because I worked at Henry Ford High School. Well, I worked at Redford High School until we closed down, and then I was transferred to Henry Ford High School. And a lot of these young people hook up with these gangs because in their mind, quote
family.
unquote, that's their fam. You know, I used to ask young men who, unfortunately, I would have to arrest a lot of times, like, why are you with that gang? It's my fam. You know, my parents, nobody's involved. Nobody love me. You know what I'm saying? My dogs, they gon' hold down for me. Okay, so if you go to prison, your dog's gonna be there to accept your collect calls. They gonna put money on your books. They gonna do your care packets, huh? Yeah, they're my dogs.
I tried that one time. I tried that shit one time when I was younger, cause you know my father, he was in the household when him and my mom weren't going through their shit,
Right.
and when he was there, we knew he was there. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it was a short period of time that he wasn't in the house, and you know I was like, "Fucking, I'm gonna join the gang." But once I got in that gang, I realized like.
It's crazy.
For one, I realized I was tougher than the guys in the fucking gang.
Right.
And then I went home. I hid the rag in the drawer. Just so happened, my old dude came home. He going through the drawer. Man, he tore my man up. But you know that made me like, you know, other than the fact that the group of guys that was in the gang was soft, but that really just made me think more about doing dumb stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, and like I said in the last episode, I believe, like, it's no fear in these households no more.
None.
You know what I'm saying? You had to fear at least one of the parents.
Right.
At least. And it's supposed to be, I'm not going to say who it's supposed to
It's
be.
supposed to be the father. Let's just
Right.
say it.
It's some mothers in that.
Yeah,
that
but it's
tear-
But
the
that'll wear
voice-
off.
The voice, exactly.
True.
When they get to a certain age, that toughness that we think we have because we didn't, you know, we
Yeah.
didn't have this. They look at us like they voice drop. They just,
Right.
oh, especially when they start having sex, it's a wrap. They're not trying to hear nothing we have to say. It's a couple of times my son, I had to stand up tall, like, who you talking to?
Yeah.
I had to grab up a couple of collars, like, what you do?
Right.
I will kick your butt up in here
Yeah.
and go to jail.
Right.
Right. And he knew from everything that you were saying, the juvenile is full of boys whooping on their parents.
Yep.
Full of boys. When I worked at Calumet Detention Center, that's majority of the boys that came in for whipping on their parents. You're impacted in the community by 70% single households, right? The 70%, right? Just pay attention now. What are we pushing as a culture?
Single parents, single parent homes. We've taught our women that you can do it by yourself. You don't need that, you know, that man or whatever. That's a lie from the pit of hell. I tell my friends, you know, when I'm with them and they, you know, you be independent and this and that. I don't have that independent spirit. You can go on over there with that independent spirit. I'm trying to have an interdependent spirit where I'm with a man and we depend on each other.
Right.
All that boss chick, I'm the boss chick, I'm a B. I'm not rolling with that.
Pushing it.
I think in a relationship as well as parenting, everything should be 50-50. You know, everything should be 50-50. I'm not talking about just
Some
being-
days. Some days it's going to be 70-30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it depends on the kid.
80-20.
Right, and it depends
That's
on the
true.
kid, right? And it depends on the kid. But for us, again, how do you move the community from a space where they are right now? Just pay attention, right? Look at the space you're in,
Yeah.
right? And I say that because the community is in its reaping season, right? We don't know about
Ooh,
reaping
yes,
season.
yes.
You're in your reaping season. And why are you reaping so? Right? You didn't counter, right? Just because Dre give me a kilo of heroin, don't mean I'm gonna touch it or sell it. See what I'm saying? Cal, here you go, take this. No, brother, you'll never interrupt my time. See what I'm saying? But you take that, and so all of a sudden you're getting a whole lot of money. but you're getting the money from the people,
Your own people.
your own people. So that makes you devalue your own people. Look at our biggest disconnect. We just did our podcast Monday about the difference between the youth and the elderly. When you don't take care of mama and daddy, right?
I never seen so many disrespectful children.
Oh,
to
yes,
their
especially
parents.
nowadays.
That's because what Dro said, they want to be friends. You see?
I'm not my children friends, and my sons have tried
Yeah.
to boss up.
Yeah.
Have tried to boss up to me.
Right.
A couple times, I'm like, who are you talking to? I'm not your friend.
Right.
I mean, you raising your voice? I'm your mother. I'm not your
Yeah.
friend. Lower your voice when you're talking to me. I don't care if we different in opinions.
Right.
Express that. You don't get to be disrespectful to me.
Everything tell them to do that, though.
And I don't feel like I should have to pick up the phone and call your dad and say, oh, he's over here being disrespectful. You should have enough respect and honor that you would never disrespect your mother or any other woman.
Ooh.
I don't.
Yeah, you see more and more and more of that nowadays. And one of the things going back to, I always ask this question, at one point I used to be like, if these guys didn't have dad in their lives and they have kids, why are they not in their kids' life? They know how it feels.
Exactly.
But then I came back to the conclusion, you can't give what you don't have. So
I don't think that's true because I demand that I don't think that's true because I demand that my sons give what they didn't have, and I thank God that they have the mentality to say, "Oh, I know how I felt when my dad said he was coming to pick us up," and
Yeah, exactly.
literally them sitting at the window waiting and him never showing that now. They're there for their sons. You know what I'm saying? They pretty much have their sons more than their mothers have them. That's why when people see me, I'm always with my grandbabies. You know what I'm saying? It takes a village. You know what I'm saying? Both of my sons have a son apiece. I still, as a mother and as a grandmother, feel like there's a foundation that as a grandmother I have to set, for my grandchildren. They need that wisdom. You know what I'm saying? They need that older person's voice, in their life. Yeah, their mothers and their fathers do a good job. But, this is selfish on my part. I want to hear my grandchildren say, my grandma said.
Well, yeah. That's the connection, though. That's what they're not getting.
Yep.
You're not getting the wisdom from the adults. We are disrespectful. The adults are still turning up.
Yeah.
We
Every
still
weekend.
right. We still don't all look good, right? And yeah, I'm a good-looking grandmama, a good-looking granddaddy. Yeah, I'm a good-looking grandfather, but I'm a grandfather.
I know that's right.
You see what I'm saying? The big difference is that if I am applying my fatherhood, right, as I understand that shit every day.
Yes. Okay.
I don't care. My daughter is in Houston right now. She done made sure she reached out to her dad every day, right? My son was fatherhood is every day. Hey, holla at me, right? Because you might run into an incident. I put enough bad out here. I gotta protect you from some of that. You can't go down certain lanes. Yep, because there's some karma waiting there. Come on, try this new lane for yourself.
Yeah.
Don't go down that lane, right? And that is how important dads really are. And I think to get to the real cusp of this thing is to, again, we did 11 straight years. Fatherhood celebration walks in the Labor Day parade.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
It got
And I didn't even know you guys knew each other. That's the
Yeah.
awesome
Hey, we're
part
good
about
fathers. We're good
it.
fathers.
Yeah,
All right.
and that's why I wanted you. We wanted you at the table.
Yep.
We recognize good fathers.
And so that process and celebrating dads, we then started bringing the family, so the family can walk, right? So the
Every
kids
day.
can see
Yes.
dad being celebrated. Here's something dad can do. Oh, wait a minute, my dad ain't really. No, your dad really Spider-Man, Hulk, Superman.
Yeah.
He really God, Jesus, right? Your
Yeah.
dad walks in these environments. Everybody missed that whole thing on TD Jakes. When TD Jakes said our women are becoming men, all they did was highlight that clip, right?
He said what he said was so accurate.
Right?
It was so
But
accurate.
that's only a portion. That's a clip. that entire message might be one of the best messages he ever put out to men and women. Men pour in. See, when you take away, as he said, when you take away a man's need to be in your life, you see what I'm saying? Why you think these men go find somebody else? Because you beat and convince me you don't need me. And
Listen.
that old girl over here, she come and lean up and talk and tell me she need me.
Let me give you-
So
let
when
me
you,
give-
but
let me give
let
you
me
a
finish this. So
story.
when you finish that piece though, where you talk about why he's not being a parent to the kids, it has nothing to do with the kids. He doesn't want to deal with her
That's right.
because he already has experienced all her games, and at some point we just cut it off for our sanity. Because I seen a brother leave a basketball game and go and kill his baby mama. And if you're paying attention, in the last 10 years,
Yes.
you've seen several incidents where the man went and got his kids killed and put the kid with the grandparents and turned himself in. Now, and you got men after divorce, number 2 way for a man to die, and divorce is killing himself. When I can't be a parent, I'm dying to be a father. We just choose sometime to cut it all off.
I was telling Dro, I don't know if I think it was the Father's Day episode that we did, and I was telling him about a young man that I had in my life, and I had not on this level had a man in my life that he was concerned about me, and he wasn't the children's father, but he was concerned about my sons, you know. And then when it was the snow or whatever, he would be over there early in the morning to shovel my snow, you know, wipe my car off, and across the grass, put a path so I didn't have to walk on the snow to the door of my car and stuff like that. One day we were in the house, and I was, you know, doing some household duties. I was doing laundry and stuff like that. So I'm carrying the basket downstairs, and I'm, you know, I'm putting the clothes in the washer and then in the dryer and taking the ones out the dryer. And, you know, he came down because he, you know, heard me doing the washer and stuff like that. He came down and he grabbed the basket from me, and I'm like, I got it. So he's steady trying to grab the basket. And I'm like, I got it, you know. And I said to him, I said, I've been doing this forever. I said, I'm straight. He looked at me. He said, well, if you straight and you got it, he said, why am I here?
Don't need me. Yeah.
I looked at him. And before I thought about it, I was like, okay, just carry the basket. But it didn't resonate in my spirit for a couple of years what that meant. We're so busy trying to be the man in the house and in the relationship. Like Mr. Calvin just said, it leaves no room for the man to actually be the man. We done took off our dresses and our heels and we done put on, you know,
Right.
some pants.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And although we share responsibility, a lot of times our femininity has left. And then, like you say, we wonder why our black men are going over to the white woman.
I ain't gonna say that.
And, no. Let me tell you. No, let me say this. I grew up in a household with Caucasian people. My foster parents were white. We were taught totally different. I was taught totally different in the white household than I was in the black household. In the white household, it was more of the father was top priority. You know, daddy was taken care of while he went out and worked and came back, and the household was taken care of by the wife. Dinner was on the table. There was a sense of peace when he walked through the door, and we had conversations at the dinner table. In the black, and I don't know if I was telling GB this other day, in the black household, when I first got with my family for the first Thanksgiving, it was so much chaos. And then not in a bad way, but everybody was yelling, screaming, hollering, this and that. I was traumatized. I was like, come get me.
Yeah, I remember you. Saying that, yeah.
Like, what is wrong with these people? Come get me.
See,
You know? And I was traumatized, and I didn't realize how different we were. You know, over there, it was taught to take care of the man. Over here, I perceived that it was taught, F the man. You know what I'm saying? So it's totally different. And I know we don't want to accept that as African American women. And I'm not saying all scenarios are like that. But what I'm saying is don't miss what I'm saying about we have to become a little bit more softer in our relationships. You know, we are not the head. God never designed for us to be the head. Never designed for us to take control of the situation. Yes, we have our own mindset. We have our own way of wanting to do things. But at the end of the day, it's his decision of how the house is going to operate.
But at the same time, you have to be a man.
Yeah, yes, you have
to be a man.
You have to be a man.
You cannot have.
Not to everybody.
Here's the thing: you can't have with my situation, and I can't speak on everybody's situation, but in my lifetime, it was certain people who did certain things in my life. I like what you said about bringing a grandmother aspect to your grandchildren. My grandmother taught me taught me a lot of things. She taught me shit that I needed to know to be a man who could take care of a household. Right. Which is, she taught me how to clean, wash clothes. I'm talking about clean the whole house. Wash clothes, iron, plant flowers outside, cut grass, shovel snow, make sure every season, because we got 4 of them here in Michigan.
Right.
We love saying shoveling snow.
So women ain't get out there shoveling that snow.
I do and I got people who shovel my snow, but I shovel it before they get there to shovel it.
But here's the thing: if you had a man in your life, you would have to do that.
That goes back to the topic,
Wait,
though.
I was just about to say.
Absentee fathers.
So, do you think that now they're trying to demasculate all the men, and due to the fact
Absolutely.
Wait, hold on. Due to the fact of you just said a man feel like if he's not needed, he's gone. So do you think that all these men, they demasculate the men just so that we can see the men? Now every man that's in a dress or every man doing something that's, you know what I'm saying, outrageously, we see them now. So we're saying like, look at this guy right here. We need this guy. Now we need this guy. Like we're missing out. And all of our guys got on a dress, and like you said, all the women got on gym shoes, pants and gym shoes. So, do you think that they're doing this out of mockery or what?
I'm not going to give they or their credit.
Right.
I'm not, right? Just think about this. At some point, we got our own minds, right? And so, you hear everybody, the comedians, what happened to Big, you just talked about your grandmother. You talked about being a grandmother, right? You said, what happened to Big Ma, right? But, no, what happened? Big Ma couldn't exist without Big Pa.
Right. Yeah, we don't
You
talk
see
about
what I'm saying?
granddad.
Because if she said, your granddaddy said, that's a different volume.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's a different heat. When my granddaddy hit the door, he's 6'4" with plumber hands. And you know what I mean? He got 10, 11 kids. Right, and he was providing. And my grandmother, she didn't play. But if it got too heavy, it's my grandfather. My grandfather showed up, never forget it, and applied 4 licks to my oldest brother now, right, about stealing. Till this day, I can't stand a thief, right? But seeing that, right, the example, can't be like that out here. See, that is what gave Big Mama power.
Yes.
To even have those conversations. Now you've taken that away. And now Big Mama, she's scared, right? I can only go so far. I can only say so much, right? And then there's this thing that we got to stop talking about. I'm going to get the grandkids and spoil them and give them all this candy. You hurting them. Yeah. We got to cut that part of the game out because you are also impacting the outcome. So as Dro was just saying, when I get my grandkids, I'm teaching them. See what I'm saying? They must learn, right? That's my job. That's what I do. When they come to me, I'm going to teach them. I had Dallas in here walking. You see what I'm saying? Already, right? But my point is that is what has happened. We praise Mama through all the processes. And the government said, and this is a small piece, and we can talk about this, the Paternus Act goes way, way back when they were having so many biracial babies that the government created a system. Today we call it child support system, right? But the men were putting these mixed babies, all these guys, because they didn't know where they was going to hide these slave babies, right? So they came up with this whole act, right? juvenile was initially admitted to rehab. It wasn't to be where you go as and act like a prison.
Right.
So that's the first kid to ever enter a juvenile was in Chicago. Pay attention to the reaping and the sowing.
Yep.
Right? We celebrate, but look at the value when T.D. Jakes was saying that was so powerful. He said, y'all are only celebrated and validated for being negative, loud, disruptive, independent. Everybody celebrates that. And all he said was, then what about our families? Right? Your natural state is with a man. Our natural state is with the right woman. Right? God knew what he was saying when he said, findeth. You can't just be with any old body.
That's right.
So you got to pay attention, and the relationship is so serious. My son said to me the other day, he said, Dad, how many relationships, I ain't really had them relationships. I said, son, I think I had 5. He said, 5? I said, yeah, everything else, I was out here clowning. I said, but relationships? I think I had 5.
I done had 1.
You see what I'm saying, Joe?
Yeah.
You see, and so that is where you're going to find your peace is in your choices.
I have 1, I'm sorry.
Yep, and that accountability, that's what men teach, right? So that's why in our work, our mentoring program and all of that, that's why we went in, because we take dads and we train them in our way, and then we make sure that the kid gets some fathering, because the black boy is the least fathered. The white boy is a percentage point behind him. The white boy, the black boy, the Arab boy, the Mexican boy, they the least. All these boys are in trouble. We like to think that they're not. We like to think the only kid that's in trouble is the black boy.
Nope.
When you look at the numbers, right, and when they look at the suicide numbers, and the suicide numbers for white boys is 3 times the deaths
That's right.
of black boys. But we like to say, right, we put it statistically, you say black boys 5 to 11, number 1 in suicide, but the white boy a percentage point behind, right? It's that many more of them, but what are we saying? We are allowing the separations, the we versus they, to impact them.
Right.
You see? That's impacting them. And that's why, Dro, you the MVP of your family and your home, because God gave men so much more of a guidance and wisdom. So in order for me to be natural, I got to have that proper peace next to me so she can be natural in what she do, so together we can have a legacy. And that's just the wonders of it is, because all across the world, those who had even in Africa, I was on a call, even in Africa, they in schools, 70% males
Yep.
run the schools in Africa.
And that's how we got to be here.
70%.
I was watching something today. I think it was on Instagram, and a
Instagram.
popular. Is that what it's called, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
they ain't paying us.
On that other social media site, I was watching something, and it really disturbed my spirit. I saw a person that has, great influence, was driving in the car, and in the car, she had someone next to her, recording her, and she turned around, got up in the seat, turned around, got on her knees, and started twerking. And in my mind, I'm like, where did we go from, like the Diane Carrolls, the Claire Huxtables, and now we're just straight trash.
And the Lauren Hills. What happened to the Lauren Hills?
Lauren, I don't understand it. Like, you're twerking, you have a whole child that is of age that can go on social media. And all the black women I literally went through the comments, and all the black women was like, fire, you got it, girl, put your back. I'm sitting there like, are you kidding me?
Well,
I just put a sad face with tears like on it, like,
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing now.
this is horrible.
Yeah.
I don't think there's nothing that we can do about that.
Money make the world go round.
But our sons are
That's
seeing
gotta-
this, and then now you wonder why he's disrespectful to the woman in his life,
And-
because you have been disrespectful in front of him.
But
So who can pull them though, Dre?
Huh?
She said it earlier. How you think these boys? Where are these boys going that they're ending up in relationships, right? And marriages and successful marriages. There are a lot of young brothers married.
Yep.
You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of the young boys putting on the show when it comes to fatherhood and family. And matter of fact, the statistics show that the kids 18 and under, 70% of them are in two-parent households.
Yep.
So it's not like it hasn't turned the corner. What it is now you got to validate them. You got to celebrate them and validate them. But that's the piece that's pulling them into, right? Because if I come over here, this is a whole different other, like you said, the culture, right? I come in here, it's peaceful. I got 3-4 cousins, right? Married to white women. You see what I'm saying? And they over there like, dude, right? And but the reason why is because they come from family environments.
Yeah.
And that is what is pulling them into those environments. That's what people fail to realize. I ain't just selecting this white girl, because I was having a conversation. It was like, oh, yeah, they slept with this big girl. Carol, look at them. They always got a big old white girl. So I say, hey, treatment a bad motherfucker.
You don't know.
I don't care what you say.
That's right.
Treatment is a bad boy. How you treat me and how I treat myself in this relationship. Yeah, I'm open, baby, for you. As a matter of fact, what your man say, what he said about his woman, the comedian.
Which one?
What's the name that did the one about the men? Steve Harvey said, told his wife in the audience, I will kill for you.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? That's that treatment. Treatment makes you lock in and become that protective of your family and your children. And we don't understand what we bring value to each other.
Cal.
And it's not about how we look. We so busy out here trying to put extra extended eyelashes on. We trying to get butt lifts and titty
But
lifts.
you know what? I can be a handsome guy with a beautiful personality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just like a woman, just like you're a beautiful young lady with a beautiful personality. So you ain't accepting no bullshit.
I'm not.
You shouldn't.
But,
You ain't accepting no bullshit.
but what I'm
Cal,
saying
you
is,
ain't.
No.
but
GB, you ain't.
what I'm saying is, as a woman and watching my sisters, we're so concerned about the
looks,
outer
yeah.
that we're not even concerned about fixing what's inside of us. You know what I'm saying?
Because what's inside of you broke is my fault.
Oh,
It's my fault.
Cal, let them know where
Listen.
we can find you at. 'Cause we can jump into a whole another topic.
Right.
Well, first of all, you can go get the books. You can go get this one, right? This is on Amazon. This is for mothers with sons, and you can go get this one. This is for new fathers and people that don't understand value. And all my books are on Amazon, including my children's book, which is incorporative of both family. You can reach me at EmiWorld, EMIYworld.com, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Like, it's always some very positive solutions on all of our social media sites, and we're always having these conversations. So thank you.
Appreciate you. Dre, what about you? Where can everybody find you at?
Well, I'm a Facebook guy, so you can always find me at DeAndre Ford, Facebook.
And
Like I
listen,
say,
if you ever want to have, he's going to say good morning every morning on Facebook. And if you ever want to find little places that you can go to around Michigan, where you can just get away for a weekend, a day, or whatever, beautiful places, always go to DeAndre's site, because he's going to show you the little nicks and, the tucks and stuff of Michigan.
a lot of
'Cause
them.
I don't know how he be on vacation all the time, but working all the time.
Hey, to add to that,
I love
I don't
that
know
about
if y'all you been to Spicers?
Hi.
That's probably the coldest cider mill in Michigan.
Spicers.
Spicers is on 23 and Clyde. And when I tell you, I'm talking about everything handmade, they sauces, everything. They got the best cider mill. I don't even eat sweets, right? But they fruit on both sides of the road, fresh pick. You can go pick your own fruit, no chemical.
Now, you know DeAndre going to be there next week.
Very fun. It's worth it.
Spicers.
I'm telling you, they just had plum season, and I went and got me some plums twice.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm talking, I'm a plum guy.
Do they take the bridge card?
Nah, ain't no bridge cards out there. Yeah, you gonna have to bring out some cash or credit or debt. Yeah, you can't. Ain't no bridge cards out there.
So we're gonna have to shoot it. We're gonna have to swing out there.
Oh
We
yeah,
appreciate
it's worth
that,
it,
Cal.
man. Take your family out there. I'm telling you, it's one of the best places in Michigan to me. I've been out there quite a few times. I take my mentees out there to reward them.
Okay.
And you get to get on the little buggy, and they'll take you around, and you got your bucket, you get off, and you pick as much as you want. From
That's
apples, pears,
Wow.
plums, apricots,
Say
everything.
no
Everything.
For free. Oh, well, you got to pay.
You gotta pay.
You got to pay for the bucket.
You got to pay for the bucket, and you pick so much. When you come back, they put it
whatever
on
you
the scale.
whatever you put in there.
I got
Yep.
EBT cash. Do they say that?
Corn, no. Corn,
The cash.
Kermit, oh, you know what? Hey, we got to tell them about the book again.
Nobody called.
Was that
Ring.
Mr.
Okay,
Silver?
you can call in.
Call next week. Then y'all could. Well, you know. what?
313. If you call in within the next few seconds, 313.